proven himself to be one of the best late game AD carries so far. He's the only player that's played Caitlyn, the only player that's played Jinx.
Well, he's had spectacular positioning as well, and that's what you really need to have on Jinx. If you can do that and you can sidestep a lot of skill shots, you can sidestep being caught, you don't have any inherent escapes, and then that helps you to stay alive, to more likely snowball your kills. And a Jinx that gets ahead tends to stay ahead, tends to be this rolling ball of momentum for the team. And that's kind of what Fusion is banking on here going into this finals. It is a best of 5, guys. $8,000 on the line. And the ESL Pro Series Season 11 will conclude with the end of this series. Who's it going to be? Team Dragon Knights or Team Fusion? Coming out the gates, they're going to be setting up this line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so hunker down, guys. We got a lot of League of Legends action for you guys still this evening. Probably won't be as long as yesterday. We actually had a 10-hour casting marathon yesterday.
Be a little difficult at this point.
Just me and Pyrotechnics, but
dude, it was great.
It was great. Worth.
I can't think of anyone else I'd rather spend 10 hours with in front of a desk.
Oh, I thought you were just going to keep going. Can't think of anyone else I'd rather spend 10 hours with in front of a desk with a headset on, with a mic in front of me, watching League of Legends, wearing a red shirt.
All those things do apply.
There's not many other people in the world that you do those exact same situations with, but I'm flattered. Thank you.
Go. You're welcome. Kyle is having some fun with the Shadow. That's some seriously fancy footwork. Moves on display for Team Fusion with that ward. And the lane swap is instigated by Trance Therapy and Nien Tanso, a.k.a. Vampire Goku.
Vampire Goku.
That's like something your like 16-year-old friend who plays League would change their name to.
Yeah. Or just Nien Tanso.
Or Nien Tanso.
His name yesterday was Uzi Pig Deft.
I wonder where he got that.
I don't know. Don't know.
The dude with Chunky Fresh could be doing a little bit of tag team jungling here on this blue buff. Louis GG going to pull off the lane freeze for now.
And a lane swap here. Fusion has been the only team thus far in the entire Pro Series over the past 4 days or whatever, all the way back to the round of 16 that has initiated a lane swap. And they've done it twice now. And in this situation, I like it a lot because Jinx is a champion that they want to focus a lot of farm on. Rek'Sai is a champion that they don't want to give as many gank opportunities to. And there's going to be an opportunity for a freeze here. But it's going to be big how TDK is going to react to this. The first time that Fusion did the lane swap, they actually didn't execute it that well. They had a Pantheon in the jungle, and Nintendo X did not make anything happen early on. He was a little bit far behind, and they couldn't transition into anything. Lee Sin, I think, is a little bit better for this type of role.
Well, they're going for trying to steal away some jungle, and this is very possible. Very, I wouldn't say easy, but a little more practical with a Rek'Sai, but he's bringing Seraph as well. They're going to actually find Chunky Fresh, and they thought about taking this one. They're going to go for it, force the flash away, and that is a win for Team Dragon Knights. Kez is going to be burrowing his way away, and so far he hasn't done too much in his own, or outside of his own or the opposing jungle on this Rek'Sai. It's very, very early in this game, of course, but with the lane swap situation, he's not really needed to. And leaving alone Nien Tanso up in the top. Actually a very good place for a Jinx to be, because you do want to farm up and get to a level where you're happy with what you've gotten. And when you're not harassed, a Jinx can just thrive incredibly well. Obviously you want to pick up kills, but they're not as necessary as the items and the CS that you need to get in that early game. There we go. Seraph is there to try and shut down Nien Tanso by himself for the time being. This should prompt a little bit of help, or at the very least he's just going to be tower farming his way for a little bit. Nintendo X moving his way slowly up to that top side. Meanwhile, Uhi and Kyle will trade it out just a little bit.
Kyle's struggling a little bit. About 10 CS down in this lane. I said earlier it's a little bit of a tough matchup for Zed, because he can get harassed out early. Kyle doesn't seem to be as aggressive of a player as who he is. Unless he's playing Jace, just because of the comfort level on that champion is huge. But it looks like they are going to transition trance therapy up here to the top lane. Basically, when you initiate the lane swap, you just want to sort of match the supports here.
Yeah, and they also brought Huhi to the party. They're going to look for Seraph, and they might just find him, but who's going to get the first blood? It looks like it's going to be the mid laner. Huhi takes that one down, and Nintendo X actually joins as well. So Nien Tanso finds himself with quite a lot of help up in that top lane. And actually, I just realized it. We're getting to see Nien play top lane again.
Yeah, and in a really roundabout way, but they're going to be matched here. Here comes Kez and Kyle.
Yeah, he's going to get the knock up, and they're going to look for the Jinx, but he doesn't quite have the sustain just yet. Nintendo X, they've turned it around. He dodges out the zap. Chunky Fresh, though, he's looking for the Blade Surge Assassinate, won't be able to find it. It's like we're having a full team skirmish, but people forgot to invite Louis GG. And Fusion just keeping all their members up top here, staying alive just barely, but Nien's got to be careful. He's sitting on a low health bar.
Yeah, they come out on top as far as kills go, but Louis XGG getting some free farm down in the bottom lane, and also that CS is going to no one right now. It's a pretty big deal. I guess Huhi in the mid lane doing sort of the same type of style.
Oh, Nintendo X patiently waiting in the brush, comes out, but he takes a lot more than he's able to dish out. And actually, Nien doesn't even leave. He sticks around here to just keep farming it up. So they're going to actually try and pressure that before backing away. But you're right, free farm for Louis XGG, and he's 10 CS up over Nien.
Okay, well, at least Chunky Fresh is able to get back before a lot of this wave is thrusted into the turret. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, you did. Your words, not mine.
Don't look at me weird.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's exactly what happened to the wave.
That's exactly what happened to the wave. Kyle and Huhi. Huhi, uh-oh, is in some trouble. Kez comes right through the brush. Deathmark is on, and the Ice Tomb will keep Huhi alive for a few more moments, but Kyle has other ideas. He picks him up, and that is the 2v1 in the mid lane. Gonna prompt Nintendude and Trance Therapy. That is a really roaming Janna. Has been every lane but bottom. Well,
yeah.
actually, she's been bottom too.
Yeah, she's been bottom as well. She helped out Chunky a little bit, but you really got to keep in mind that how powerful Kez is going to be on this Rek'Sai. I mean, Rek'Sai, 100% pick and ban rate so far out of, I don't know, 20 matches or whatever that we've spectated so far in the Pro Series.
Yeah.
Left open twice.
Picked both times, first
picked
rotation.
both times. And Fusion, the first game that they got it, in the last series, they won in 20 minutes. So I know Kez would love to sort of mirror that success. But there's a reason why this pick is so highly contested. Because she's strong.
Quite so. And Kez has been a little bit more passive, I would say, than Nintendude X, but Nintendude on that Rek'Sai was just absolutely beastly. And he was all over the map all the time. There's definitely a large tunnel network here for Kez to take advantage of that he's laid the groundwork for, but all the same, quite literally, but all the same, it's difficult to mirror that kind of level of play, and it just shows you it's not just the champion you choose, but how well you're able to play them in this particular instance. Even at this very high level, there are disparities. So Nintendo waiting in this brush for Louis GG or Conquan to get a little bit too far forward. It looks like it's going to be Conquan. There is the ward, and he misses on the Sonic Wave, so a little bit of time wasted for Fusion's jungler. And also, speaking of time wasted, we'll have to talk about that in a minute because Seraph is incredibly low. Flash forward for Chunky Fresh, won't get him a thing. Just outside of range, and there
I heard an ultimate.
Is the Void Rush, just for farm.
Okay.
It is really useful for farm.
Yeah, you get from one side of your jungle to the other. There you go.
Really quickly. Oh, yeah. But that lane swap, again, it wasn't poorly executed this time by Fusion, but it didn't really get them anything except a first blood, and that was mostly because they brought their entire team to the top lane. So now that Louis GG is ahead by about 15 CS, and also Nien Tanso is kind of stuck on this double Doran's Berserker's Greaves, which means he has like no damage compared to Louis GG.
It's a bad matchup for Jinx as well because she doesn't do well against those sort of upfront AD carries. She can outrange him a little bit, but if a Graves can get into Jinx's face, it's just bad news because she has just no way to avoid a lot of the damage. He dashes in, he's going to get buckshot and collateral damage pretty easily onto a Jinx. Of course, Jinx is going to outscale most AD carries, and her the potential for a Jinx to snowball a team fight can never be ignored.
They're going to have to get to that point first. Nintendude is going to force Seraph to flash and Rift walk away. This will mean Team Dragon Knights are going to go for their first dragon of the game. Should be able to smite it down, and they do. So first dragon of the game again. You know, they've been pretty spectacular in controlling dragons, with the exception of the games that they've fallen incredibly far behind in. So now Fusion answers back in the top side with Nintendude X and Chunky Fresh. A large minion wave at their backs, but Seraph is going to stay up top and push them away. There's still that threat of the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and Kyle was coming up the mid lane as well, so they realized that if they stuck around too long, they might give Kyle even more strength from that mid lane. And
ooh, Louis GG got taken pretty low while all that happened. So did Nien, but he has a little bit more. You know, one thing that is nice about going double Dorans, even if you're behind, is you get that 3% extra lifesteal. You're able to sustain up a little bit better. And whoa, the wave is out. It's going to separate them. Nien, can he stay alive? No, he cannot. Louis GG flashes the Chompers into an immediate collateral damage. And that's going to mean Nien has to go back and try it again. 20 CS down. And it makes you wonder why he didn't just stay top lane.
Yeah, you give up a lot of control over the bottom side of the map if you do that, which leads to dragons being taken up. You can't stay up there too long. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they took it anyway.
Yeah, ooh, woo! Trance, flash in the bubble. Close call.
And, I mean, that's just the strength of Graves in that sort of matchup. Jinx.
Oh, I heard a Rek'Sai. Back to farm.
He went to the river, at least.
That's true.
He's venturing further and further away. By the end of the game, he'll be going all the way to the enemy Nexus.
Burrow to the Nexus.
Yeah. But just a strong performance here by LuXGG. Goes back to when he was able to sit down in the bottom lane and free farm by himself for about 2-3 minutes, which is a pretty big deal, and hard to avoid that damage without using Flash. And Nien actually had Flash available there, but couldn't use it.
Yeah, now Kyle's in a little bit of trouble himself. Huhi gets the jump on him, but there's the death mark on the rest of TDK as here. Huhi's going to get the kill, but he'll pay for it immediately. Kez comes on in and makes his day a little bit rougher with the Queen's Wrath.
Giving a kill over to Rek'Sai, though, not something that you want to do at this stage.
No, not at all.
But kills traded over to the mid laner. Uh-oh.
Yep, they found Conquan here. Oh, Chompers, they have to be flashed as well. That's still really good value out of it. They're going to be able to find Conquan. It's going to be going over to Nintendude X. They tried to give it to Nien. Now Kaz is in trouble. The rocket's down. And a little bit of an auto attack that's Pow Pow for you is going to net Nien Tanso his first kill of the game. Sorely needed. While up in the top lane, Chunky Fresh decides to try and dive on to Seraph, but he'll get the tower regardless.
So lots of big things happening for Fusion right there. They pick up 2 kills virtually for free. They take down Kez on that Rek'Sai, and they also take down the turret in the top lane.
And they're looking for Kyle. I love that they sent 2 skill shots his way. Oh, they're going to be able to take him out here unless he's able to get away from this one. The flash, nope, not going to be able to escape the dude this time. And Seraph trying to come to his rescue, doesn't get there quite on time, and there we go. Nintendude X clearing out some of the burrows as he looks to take the blue buff of Kez.
Yeah, and he's starting to come back into this one.
Yeah, one kill can make all the difference, to be honest. And it's also a massive confidence booster for a Jinx. You get that, you know, the reason it's called Get Excited, you really do get excited when you hear that.
I don't think Nien needs confidence. He plays with an absurd amount of confidence. Sometimes overconfidence. He goes ham in situations where not many people go ham.
It's very profound.
Yep.
Yeah, this time he's definitely got a little more spring in his step, though, moving forward. And, you know, liberal rocket use to try and push Louis GG away. They've got the wave clear. Pretty impressive wave clear between that. Now, Seraph checking in to Chunky Fresh. Really dangerous. And this Aurelia, we haven't talked too much about Chunky, but he's sitting on just the Sheen right now, looking close to his Phage. Still incredibly dangerous to deal with, and with that tower already gone. A lot of pressure on Team Dragon Knights to try and come back to this one, but Nintendude finds himself caught. Deathmark is on. Should be able to get away from this one, though. The kick, he follows on in. Kaz is in trouble. Maybe not, because he takes down Nintendude. Enough damage, or is it? He burrows away just in time. And at the end of the day, it's a 1 for none for Team Dragon Knights.
And both Nintendo and Kez almost give it to the
there's
left.
a rocket. Is it going to connect? Yes, but it's just barely enough damage between the Raptor camp and Nien Tanso, and what a rocket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of trouble here, though. Luigi G steps on the chopper's heel, is out. I don't know if he's going to get away. Yes, he can flash out of the collateral damage, and Nien Tanso just starts rocking and rolling where he was shut down before. He's 3-1.
That's a really great comeback tool there for Nien. He picks up a kill cross map with the rocket and then turns around and 1v1s Louis XGG. He did have to use both summoners, but that's still a matchup where he would usually have a rough time. Oh,
Absolutely
no, and
worth.
Kyle.
Now Kyle in some trouble as well. Can he shadow step his way out of this one? I don't think so. Nintendo with a kick to the back of the head, and Kez just can't get anywhere. Meanwhile, down bottom, Seraph comes on in with the teleport and shuts down Nien Tanso. So they do get the 1-for-1 across the map.
And Tanso sticking around a little bit too long without those summoners. Not much he can do to escape that Kassadin. Dragon is spawning in about 10 seconds. I don't think TDK has the control over this game at the moment to be able to go for this one. It's probably going to be a Fusion Dragon here, or a Fusion-initiated Dragon. All members are up. No teleports for these top laners, but they are on the bottom side of the map. Zed, Kyle and Kez actually, or Kyle and Seraph actually coming from base, but it doesn't look like Fusion's going to be able to start this right away.
Yeah, they're going to try to get some good positioning on it. Trant's actually very far forward. There's Nintendo going to force Kez to burrow away as he also hits the Praise Seeker and try and push them off. This Trant's a little bit low in this one. See if they can't soften him up before the Dragon Dance commences. And Huhi is actually hanging around this mid lane trying to push waves and see if they can't keep them away from this Dragon for the most part. And Tanso sent down bottom once again to shove out his own minion wave while the rest of the team tries to get in position, but this could be a little bit more drawn out.
Kez could see Chunky Fresh moving around there, but I think they're a little bit afraid. The last couple fights have not gone well for them. They've had a couple players caught out of position, and now the Dragon is going, nope.
It's procced. They're going to pull it as far out of the pit as they can, actually, and this is really, really far. TDK just can't get in here with the positioning that Fusion have, and they're trying to collapse right now, though, but not entirely together. The Dragon's smited away by Fusion, and that means TDK will back off. So Fusion does manage to grab that one, sneak out, no casualties.
Yeah, big pickup for them. Evening up the Dragon total, and now to supplement that gold lead, they also have those percentage stats, so they're going to even it up.
Even more.
They're going to even it up. They might even it up.
I don't even.
It's pretty even.
Well, that was odd.
He doesn't even. I don't even.
Chunky Fresh is just using his ultimate to clear some waves up in the top side. It's very protective of that turret.
Yeah, he does. He has hit that power spike with the Trinity Force here.
Still 0-0-0 too, worth noting. Like, he really hasn't picked a kill anywhere on the map, but when you rush your Triforce without getting boots, you got quite a lot of farm. He's able to do that. They've really utilized Seraph as more of a zoning and roaming assassin, which is, you know, what you want to do with Kassadin anyways. But Chunky is kind of a little bit more utility. They send him wherever they want, wherever they need him to be. But now, who will win between the two of them? Seraph has actually kind of had some trouble dealing with this Aurelia.
He has, especially earlier on, but now it's going to start to be a lot more even.
Uh-oh. Careful, there's a Kez and a Conquan right behind Louis GG. 1v1.
One of the strengths of Rek'Sai, though, is her ability to farm the jungle very, very quickly. And the jungler doesn't fit Kez's style as much, because Kez a lot of time forgoes farm to focus a lot on map control, and that's not something that Rek'Sai...
Oh, a lot of rockets being spent, flashing forward. Trance Therapy is going to find the Howling Gale into the Monsoon. Louis GG taken out by Nintendo Dex, and Conquan by himself in this bottom lane. They do need Kez to make some moves. Kyle now, he's in some trouble as well. The Deathmark already burned, but it did not do nearly enough damage. Huhi and Chunky Fresh controlling that side of the jungle. This should be a tower picked up by Fusion. That would mean their third. This kind of has been their calling card for most of these games. They get one, they get two, they get three, and they crack that shell and just start sieging all together as a switch gets flipped on the Fusion side. Decent sized gold lead for them, and Team Dragon Knights struggling to try and respond to this. Should be another tower.
Yeah, and Jinx is such a great sieger. Not only does she have poke, but if she gets on a turret with the Gatling gun, she takes it really quickly. Also has long-range auto attacks with the rockets to be able to take it down from afar.
They lose nothing for that, too. More importantly, they sent Chunky back to the top. Uh-oh, Louis GG, no idea where the rest of the team was, and he gets blindsided and kicked away. Vampire Goku, a.k.a. Niantanso, with yet another kill.
And having a rough start in this game, being about 30-40 CS down in lane without a single kill. All of a sudden, he's got 4 kills. All of a sudden, he's about even in CS in this game, and he's starting to pull ahead of Louis XGG a little bit, and of course, got to factor in that scaling. It's going to get better and better for him as the game goes on. It seems like TDK, who usually in the past matches that we've watched have been the ones making the moves, it seems like they're sitting back on their heels, trying to play a reactive style, but they just aren't having anything to react to. Fusion's just making so much. Whoa.
Yep, Chunky checks a little too far into Conquan and Kez, and he actually burns his flash to try to get away. Rocket comes in and connects on Seraph, but that won't do too much. Kez now burrowing away from Trance Therapy. The Howling Gale won't connect on anybody.
From behind!
But here we go. They've all started to collapse on it. Huhi looking for Seraph. They get the Frozen Tomb on him. The Rockets are gonna be enough. They take down Seraph. They're rolling on forward, and Fusion took what looked like a horrible situation and is starting to turn it into a massive stomp. They take down Conquan, a double kill. Get excited, Proc. They're looking for more Trance Therapy. It's a triple now. Going over to Niantanso. Can he get even more? Luigi G, a quadra kill. Going for more. Can he take down Kez? Yes, he can! It's a pentakill going over to the end.
What a play there by Fusion, and that's just TDK going way too far deep, and Fusion just capitalized on it. Niantanso playing the Jinx, the only player bold enough.
And a surrender vote. Team Dragon Knights just utterly shaken up after that one. I cannot believe just after the Jinx pentakill, they'd say, that's it, GG, we've got 2 more tries. That is their toughest test, and they absolutely bombed it that game.
So, Yen, the only AD carry in this tournament bold enough to bring out those late game AD carries with the Caitlyn, with the Jinx.
And he had it mid-game.
And he had it mid-game. That was 21 minutes into the game. That wasn't even like, oh, ultimate scaling Jinx there. That was just Niantanso making the best of a poor situation early on, seemingly getting shut down. And that's just Fusion stomping all over the Dragon Knights, who have seemed pretty unstoppable so far this tournament. Fusion taking it to them.
Yeah, 1-0 game up, and they win it in style. That was just about as fast as the first game in their previous set. So they're up 1-0 right now, and they're on a high in momentum. Team Dragon Knights, they had not been tested that hard before, but can they answer back? They've got to start thinking about this next game. Jace is banned away, of course. The Rek'Sai, you can't give the Rek'Sai up, but it didn't really help Kez out that much.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it didn't seem like it fit his style, really. Rek'Sai, even though it's a really strong champion, she sort of relies on getting a little bit of farm there. So it does a lot of damage, even with tanky items, but you have to get to that tanky point before you can do that. And Kez spent a little bit too much time trying to get vision control over the map, and a little bit too much time roaming around, and not enough time farming up. And it doesn't fit the support-oriented style that Kez likes to play. And similar bans to the last time, just the Rek'Sai interchanged, and right away Fusion picks up that Lissandra. That seems to be sort of the key to a lot of their victories. Huki playing it last game, Chunky playing it for most of this tournament. Either way, still a high priority pick for these guys.
Yeah, I think Chunky's very comfortable on it, but again, as you mentioned, it is a flexible pick. They can send it on Huhi. He did very well. He did almost the exact same thing that Chunky did. They kind of just swapped who was playing what in that particular situation. And it really wasn't bad at all, the Aurelia play from Chunky Fresh. They know they have that in their pocket. Kez is going to lock in the Lee Sin. He's been much more comfortable on this particular champion. The Rek'Sai, you're right, didn't really fit his playstyle. He used his ultimate predominantly to farm. He kind of felt encumbered by the need to do that. And look at this, Fusion. If they go for the Mundo, honestly, they can go for the Jinx again in this situation, but Corki has been the preferred champion.
Yeah, he actually drew bans in their last series on the Corki. I think Corki, even though he got a pentakill last game on the Jinx, a lot of hype in that game.
Quite a lot.
I still think Corki is his go-to, and I think it's by far his scariest AD carry.
It is a lot scarier than even the Caitlyn, which you mentioned did very well in that one game, which they weren't able to win, but still. Corki, it's so mobile, it's so safe. They're definitely thinking about what they want to do with this one, though. And the Mundo, yeah, they can switch it up. Actually switching into Elise, since there aren't as many higher-end junglers, but this was Nintendo's pretty much his big famous jungler.
Yeah, he was one of the first competitive players in North America to bring out Elise in the jungle way back in the day.
He used to build it full AP, too. We mentioned the difference. There's been this option of either the Juggernaut or the Magus Enchant with Elise, and they have that option. Since they don't have a tank in the top lane yet, they still have Chunky Fresh playing the I was going to say the Kalista, talking about the Lissandra, but I got distracted because Louis GG instantly locks in the Kalista, which, by the way, has been one of his calling cards as well this tournament. So,
yeah, Louis XGG, I believe his signature is just buying whatever the hell he feels like buying at any stage in the game. He had a pretty interesting build on Kalista. A lot of players that have played Kalista have been building the Runaan's Hurricane really early on because of just the synergy with a lot of things that she has. The Ren being a big one in that situation, and attack speed scaling with not only her damage but also her mobility mainly. And Louis XGG, the one game that he did play Kalista, he was a huge carry on TDK, but Kalista is also a little bit inconsistent and has the potential to be shut down pretty heavily early on. So Fusion seems to be really good at that, punishing weak early picks. That's why they've had some very quick victories in the past couple series. But we'll see if it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, and who he gets a hold of Zed this time again. It was very, very scary when he gets rolling ahead, and it's difficult for Kyle to deal with. As good as Kyle is, it's still very hard to deal with the Zed with pretty much everything in his repertoire when Jace is taken off the board, which Fusion has been meticulous about, but they swap it up at the last minute. And there is an Italy pickup, and now I'm not entirely so sure that's going to be a top pick either.
No, I'm not sure. Now, mid Nidalee is not as powerful as top Nidalee. You don't have as much room to maneuver. You don't have as many bushes to maneuver around as well, but there's still some players, especially among the challenger scene, that will bring out the mid Nidalee.
Let's take away from Seraph as well.
Yeah, it's also to take it away from Seraph. Quinn, probably.
Could be.
Probably
Quinn versus
not.
Nidalee, if that's a top lane matchup, if that happens.
Don't think that's even good?
I kind of am inclined to agree with you. Don't think it'll be a Quinn either, but they do have some options here. I don't think it'll be Heimerdinger either, but
Heimerdinger is more likely.
Somewhat more likely.
Xerath even more likely than that.
Yeah, I do think they're going to send Seraph up to the top with Kassadin, which would leave the Xerath open. You mentioned before that it's kind of one way you can deal with Zed in the early game, try to shut him down a little bit, but they do lock that in. And that is the final TDK lineup. So it looks like mid Nidalee is the word of the day.
Yeah, it's a weird team comp here for TDK. It's
a little bit awkward for Fusion too.
It's yeah, I don't know. It seems like some sort of a pick composition here, but at the same time they don't have too many pick tools. It seems like a disengaged composition, but I don't know. It's tough to say. We haven't seen the team comp very similar to this. A lot of times when you pick the Xerath, you have a lot of like hard engage or go full in onto a disengaged composition. But there's a lot of mobility on this squad here, with the exception of Xerath. So maybe they are going for that type of thing. Fusion's lineup seems a little bit more well-rounded, but the one wildcard pick there is the mid Nidalee, which we have not seen much of at all.
Yeah, and this is a tournament with Inox.
It is a tournament with Inox, and it's also a tournament with, oh man, who's the other mid Nidalee player that played early on here? Oh, I can't remember.
That's okay, because we're in game number 2 of the final.
Peking Wolf,
that's
right.
I was Peking Wolf.
From Ground 6, yeah.
Fusion, though, roaming all together. And, you know, they love to do this. Regardless of who they're placing down, they do love to kind of stick together in the beginning and just chase down. Kez is just like, I'm not going to go anywhere near that, but they're also chasing Seraph away. And, ooh, the hook, level 1 flash with Trance Therapy. They just might have enough to pick him off, and they do. No summoners burned for Seraph, but that was a quick first blood, a minute into the game. And unfortunately for TDK, it goes to the end.
Not a good start from them, and that's probably the worst person that they want that first blood to be on. Again, I mentioned it earlier. Even though there was a pentakill last game for Niantanso on Jinx, Corki still, I think, his best AD carry. Draws bans sometimes as well. Very high win rate on that champion so far in this tournament. Giving him first blood and a long sword advantage going into the lane. Not a great thing.
No, definitely not now. And Fusion waiting up in the top side to see if they can't pull another kill. This is the thing about having a very early Thresh. It enables you to set up these picks, but no one from TDK is anywhere near that. They're going to be spending quite a lot of time. As the Gromp gets started up. Smite it down.
It's a Gromp party.
It is a Gromp party.
Everybody's invited.
Ain't no party like a Gromp party.
Except for a Krug party.
Well, slightly more fun.
A lot more fun.
Yeah.
There's 2 Krugs, there's only 1 Gromp.
Very true. 1 is the loneliest number.
It's double the fun.
Ooh. You know what's triple the fun? Red buff.
It's not quite a party yet.
Nintendo X and Chunky Fresh double timing it.
I'm curious to see how this mid Nidalee is actually going to work here.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. Against a Xerath who just wants to keep a serious zone, it's going to be difficult to land a spear and try to go in for the execution, but at the same time,
I don't think that's the goal.
Enough. Yeah, I don't think so either. But
I think
what is Puhi's plan here?
I think they're going to use this mid Nidalee sort of as the old style of mid Nidalee, where you build a lot of AP and you use it sort of as like a poke champion.
Yeah, and you know, at this point, the later the game goes, the more AP a Nidalee builds, it does really start to stack up pretty quickly, and there's that added effect of you being able to close gaps pretty quickly.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it's not really great for team fights. There's the split push potential. Puhi does love to split it out, but there's definitely going to be a reason that they pick this over the Zed.
Yeah, but you look at this team comp, it's especially with the Elise pick, a lot of it's sort of built around the ability to make picks and then siege turrets. Because they have Cocoon available, they have the Hook available, and Lissandra and Nidalee have great follow-up on single targets in that type of situation. They also have fantastic siege because they have a ranged jungler. They have 5 ranged champions here. So it makes it easier for them to be able to siege turrets, especially around that mid-game. And if they land a couple spears, land a couple rockets, it opens up a lot of opportunities for them.
Yeah, and they just have to be patient and wait for the chance to do it. Down to the bot lane, LuigiG out farming Niantanso just a little bit here. Because Niantanso's up solo in the top lane. We didn't really talk too much about lane swap, but it's something that Fusion's consistently been doing. This time it's not working too terribly. Gotta be careful though. Nintendo X actually finding LuigiG by himself here, and they nearly get the hook off, but he burns his flash to escape. And he talked about Kalista being isolated and how it's not usually a good idea. Oh, hello, Nian. Seraph and him going both incredibly low. Conquan's perfectly healthy though, and he's got plenty of mana to help sustain up Seraph.
Yeah, Nian seems to be the main carry for Fusion in a lot of their victories. So you see the lane swap a lot just to put Nian in a situation where he can farm pretty safely and get levels pretty safely.
Nice spear there for Puhi. He's really utilizing the blind spots of this lane quite effectively, and it's something that we kind of forgot about a little bit since mid Nidalee's been less popular.
I think people are pretty thankful that mid Nidalee's been less popular.
Now Kyle isn't right now. Probably having nightmarish flashbacks.
You're not as punished because the spear damage takes a lot longer to ramp up.
That's true. It does take the edge off of it just a little bit.
The missile width is smaller.
Ooh, Chunky. Gotta be careful. LuigiG getting some help in that bottom side in the form of Kez. Ooh, yeah, it is really harder to connect those spears and narrowing the hitbox. Now that's definitely a blessing for anyone facing down in Italy. It doesn't matter where you are. Oh, nice catch on the Conquan here. Trance Therapy is going to double it up, but Nian is incredibly low, and he's going to Valk over, trying to get the kill. He does! And now Seraph is going to try to finish him off, and he will. That is going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but now Trance Therapy might have the edge here over Seraph. He can't riff walk away. He's only level 4 right now, and Trance going to send the hook out, and it doesn't connect.
What?
Wait a minute. That looked like it just went through him.
What?
I know he's from the Void, man, but wait a minute. Do physics not work over there?
What?
Can we get that again? That was weird.
Okay.
All right.
I just became Lil Jon.
Veto, please.
Oh well. Graphical bug. Kappa.
I'm not sure what kind of bug it was.
Whatever the case.
That's okay. Sometimes it happens. Keena's just like, all right, I'll take it.
Yeah. Maybe he wouldn't have killed him anyway. Who knows?
I mean, it would have been pretty close regardless. There's really not a lot of damage that Trance has to be able to make that happen, and he was already so close to tower range.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really debatable, so probably not too big a deal either way.
In the end, though, 2 kills so far in this game. He's going to get a pretty early Trinity Force. And that's going to be pretty scary. They once again put him in a situation where he's really getting far ahead. He's going to get level 6 pretty early. He's going to be able to get some farm. And Fusion's probably pretty happy with their situation right now.
Yeah, they have a nice little lead. It's not huge. It's not insurmountable by any means, but they've grabbed some map control on this bottom side. Kez and Conquan are eager to clear that out, though. And TDK they're looking a lot more cautious this time. They're still making plays. They're still doing what they can. And they're really not that far behind. But they can't afford to start giving up objectives to Fusion left and right as they started to when they fell behind last game.
Indeed. Chunky Fresh pushing up this top lane here. Now there's going to be a pretty big window of opportunity here for Fusion. Before Kassadin and Kalista are going to be able to ramp up. When around the time Corki's going to finish his Trinity Force, around the time where Huki's going to finish that first item, one of those first big items. And before they really start to fall off, where they can start making moves around the map and getting lots of vision control across the jungle, sieging up. Their composition makes sense, but it's definitely on a time clock here.
Yeah, absolutely, and they have to be careful about giving up too much early as well, because it just doesn't let them get to where they need to be. Making those mistakes has been kind of what's burned them in the past. So TDK here are in a decent position in this bottom lane. Kalista lane is always a little bit more deceptively damaging, especially once those Ren stacks start stacking up.
Yeah,
however,
the AD carries are sort of very different in that regard, whereas Corki's damage is a lot early and it tapers off. Kalista, it takes a little bit for a damage to ramp up. You don't really realize how much damage is coming out until you're already dead.
Yeah, speaking of damage though, Nian is really setting his sights on Conquan, trying to take him out so the sustain isn't really there, and the Phosphorus Bomb just starting to hurt quite a lot. Bubble is on, Flay is back. They level up in all of that craziness, but having to burn a flash, Louis GG sitting a little bit low here, and this looks good for Fusion's bot lane in this game right now. 9 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock. Nobody's made a big move for Dragon just yet. Really hasn't been an opening, and you know, we really haven't seen much since the very early game of the dude. He's just kind of been hanging out in his own side of the jungle, trying to catch back up a little bit on farm. He does pick up the Rangers Trailblazer, so he won't have the Chilling Smite available to him this game.
Yeah, still though, he can afford to focus a little more heavily on farm. His lanes aren't going to really need much help here. They're either really strong, like this bottom lane, or really safe, like Lissandra and Nidalee in the mid lane. So, again, I told you, they're going to hit this power spike that they're going to need to make moves happen.
Seraph is a little bit low in this top lane. Actually, he's actually in a lot of trouble now, but he's able to rift walk just outside of the AoE damage as Chunky Fresh thought he had him, started walking away, and a close call for the TDK top laner.
Oh, well, what can you do?
What can you do indeed?
Does have teleport available, but it looks like he is going to stay in lane without that frozen tomb.
Yeah, and this has been kind of a rough lane so far for Seraph, actually. You know, dealing with Chunky Fresh's Lissandra, this guy is just... It's not only just being good at that particular champion in general, but is having a lot of momentum in games on him as well, and being able to just say, oh, well, I did it, you know, just did it, I can do it again, you know, that's just fine. And Seraph is having a little bit of trouble dealing with that. Down in the bot lane, though, continues to trade back and forth, a little bit of jungle interference left and right from time to time, but Dude is biding his time to come on in here. They're waiting and hoping if they can get an opening for this one. No vision on here. The Lantern is available, but they're not going to use it. Nintendo X going spider form, repelling up, and the chase is on. But here comes Kez. They didn't know it was a 3v3, but about to be a 4 as a teleport comes in from Seraph. Conquan already taking out Nintendo X, though, and the fight is just going haywire here. TDK coming up with 2 kills. Nintendo out of the action. That's going to prompt the Dragon at 12 minutes.
And I think Chunky Fresh tried to teleport onto a Lantern, but he actually ended up canceling that, maybe even onto a ward. So his teleport is going to be on cooldown. Doesn't even get into the fight. They lose 2 members, and they're going to lose a Dragon in the situation. This is not what Fusion needed if they wanted to be able to get a big advantage before, like I said, that time clock's going to take into effect.
Yeah, riding that momentum would have been great off that first win that they'd had, but they're having some trouble here now. He's going to have to get Lantern out to safety. And yeah, it's just starting to look a little bit rough for them. They're making some shaky decisions and just not executing what looked like an otherwise relatively good gank. But turret's taken out up top. They do manage to get a little bit back after all of that because Chunky, after losing his teleport, just kept on pushing through while Seraph was a little bit preoccupied in the mid lane. So that will be something here. Chunky's going to spend his glacial path to escape from Seraph. A lot of gap closers between those two. I feel like if they ever chased each other around the map, it'd be kind of wacky.
Yeah, there's still a gold lead here for Fusion. They do have that turret. They're ahead in CS on average across the board. 20 CS up top, 20 CS in the mid, 15 CS in the jungle. It's one Dragon to 0. In favor of TDK, so that sort of makes up for that gold deficit with the stats, but I still think they're in a decent spot here. They have a lot of defense. Xerath is sort of like an anti-siege tool.
Yeah, he can really stall out games very effectively the longer the game goes on. And TDK, again, when they get to that later ramping point, it gets pretty big there. But Kyle jumped on by Huhi. Not enough sustain to stay alive, and Huhi will take a tower shot, survive it all. They're going to try to push down this middle. That is the danger of a Xerath when by himself, especially. And Fusion will grab themselves the one in the middle. This has been how the way they've pretty much done it. They've taken top, mid, and then bottom in that order just about every game that they've gotten those towers.
Yeah, very true, and this is sort of the strength of this team comp right now. When they find a pick like this, they can really just make life miserable for the enemy team. Really great siege potential here with 5 ranged champions on the team. And since they do have that pick composition, it's really dangerous for the enemy team to sort of roam around by themselves in the jungle. They can gain a lot of vision control over the enemy side, and they're really just taking a lot of things. So despite that little bit of a rough engagement down the bottom, Fusion still seems to be in relative control over this game. 3 turret lead to 0. They've taken all those outer turrets, and the Antonzo going in.
He goes way forward, but he didn't realize no one was following him there, relying on a Lantern from Trance Therapy to bail him out. But now the Seraph ultimate, not going to be enough damage. He hits 1 for 3. And he gets chased a little bit away, by the way, by Huhi in the middle. So, yeah, Antonzo has been a little bit ham, and he hasn't really paid for it too much. But in this particular situation, that was a little bit questionable. I guess if he'd have gotten the kill, we would have been saying something a little bit different, but that was kind of an awkward Valkyrie over.
He did have the Lantern to get to safety.
It's true. I mean, it was
and
not
Nintendo
super
Dex was
committal.
waiting in the wings, but
They are going to lose out on the tower now as Louis GG hop, skips, and jumps his way to the first objective picked up there by Team Dragon Knights.
well, Seraph's starting to ramp up a little bit here.
Yep, as that Rod of Ages, it's only 15.5 minutes. Here we go, Chunky Fresh finding Tez as well there. Flashes burn, Huhi on the chase. And now they're trying to bail themselves out, but they have no tower to fall back to. Kicks the kitty back, and here we go. down to the bot lane. It commences again, boxes down, and here we go. Niantanzo trying to find the kill. He's bubbled up, but there we go. Louis GG taken down, and a double kill going over to Niantanzo.
4th kill of the game, and that's the danger of trying to pick fights against a Corki once he has that Trinity Force. We talked about it earlier. Kalista takes a lot of time to ramp up. You have to make trade-offs. You either have to build damage or you have to build attack speed. You need to either focus on the damage or the mobility. And Louis GG opts for a mixture of both, but just not good in duels right now, and especially with the Thresh. If he can land a hook, then it's almost lights out, guaranteed, with this bottom lane of TDK. Fusion continuing to improve their position in this match.
I'm starting to think you're right about Louis GG's build pass. He just builds whatever he has gold for. Every single time.
Yeah, because it's inconsistent. Every time he builds something different. You look at every champion that he's played so far this tournament, he's never had like a consistent build path.
Well, the crazy thing is it works for him more often than not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he makes the most efficient use out of his gold every time he backs to base. Like he's built, well, I guess he's built pickaxe twice first on Corki, which delays your power spike but gives you a better time in lane. And a lot of times that first back can be a little bit of awkward. Usually when Corki first backs, he either picks up like pieces of a Sheen or pieces of a Phage, never the whole thing. If you back with like 950 gold, picking up a pickaxe plus a couple pots actually seems pretty good.
Well, so far neither team has really had a huge fix on dragons. There was one that got picked up by TDK earlier in this game, but they don't really have the map control to try and take this one that's coming up in about 30 seconds. They could try to contest it, but they're not moving that general direction. Seraph up in the top lane is going to be able to start pushing some things in with the help of Kez, but that might kind of be a consolation here because this dragon will mean a lot to Fusion, who definitely need to pick one up. That 8% will help them quite a lot more in these skirmishes that have been happening.
Yeah, I'll tie it up at 1-1. Wouldn't be the dragon score if they pick it up. They do seem to have the edge right now in this game.
And even defend tower. Who he's making his way up there. He doesn't know Kez is there just yet, though. Dragon picked up by Fusion. Oh, actually, he goes a little bit too far forward, and he gets kicked back. Don't think he's going to live too much on this one, but the teleport coming in. Ooh, he actually sticking around, and he just gets out of the area, and he spears it in for Kez, coming out ahead. Who saw that one coming? Meanwhile, down to the bottom, Trance Therapy is going to pick up Conquan, and the Right of the Arcane does absolutely nothing. All said and done, it's a Dragon and a 3-4-0 for Team Fusion.
Oh, maybe even more. Seraph gets caught out here. Oh, no.
Yes. Fresh just taking a minute to realize he was right there, and he flashes the wall to try and pick off Seraph. He's going to be kind of on a wild Kassadin chase, but he backs away.
And just like that, Fusion takes 3 kills for none across the map. And
a tower.
Yeah, and a turret. So TDK seems to just not be, nothing seems to be going their way. They try to answer that dragon with that top wave push, but not only do they not even get the turret,
they don't even get Huhi.
They don't even get
catch
Huhi,
a break.
And he picks up the kill
with this cheekiest
with the
of spears
as he's sub 50 health, trying to escape. So
we've seen a lot of close shaves this entire tournament, but that was definitely one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, TDK. It seems like a different TDK than we saw in some of their matches. They had the only 2-0 in the quarterfinals.
Against Cloud9 G2A.
They had the quickest matches in the tournament before Fusion came into their last series and this series. Yesterday, we said they were the most impressive team that we saw, but Fusion just flipped a switch today. They've shored up a lot of the mistakes that they were making yesterday, even though there weren't too many. And this series is just going really well for them. And you can tell right now with the lead, Nidalee can be such a suffocating champion to deal with because she just chucks those spears. And just a couple spear hits is enough to completely turn a fight or change the strategy of your opponent. If Xerath hits a couple spears, he can't stay in range long enough for fear of dying, and that's your wave clear right there.
Yeah, you really can't stall it out when you're in danger of being skewered like that. So
skewered.
That's a good verb.
It really is. Kalista skewers people too.
She does. There's a lot of spears in this game. And hooks against Therapy using his Flay. Help clear out the minion waves with 10 dude X. Who, by the way, has kind of taken a little bit more of a passive role this game. He gets a very early Ruby Sightstone, of all things. And he's kind of just been a damage soak. Not even really a straight tank, but a damage soak. He does, however, pick up, I believe that's the Mage's enchant.
Yeah.
So he's going a little bit more offensive focused in that regard. But, you know, he hasn't really had to be around too much. Ooh, Chunky dodging out all the skill shots. He's kind of been a little out of position as well, but TDK, they're kind of scrambling to pick up something wherever they can. And they've lost out on a lot of gold here. They're down about 6,500.
That's a lot of gold. It's not nearly as much as last game where at about this time in the last match they were surrendering out. But still.
Slower paced game too.
Slower paced game. Fusion though is playing it pretty well. They're utilizing their team comp well. They're going to start sieging up here. Nien, weird position off to the side here.
He's drawing attention. He's getting rockets.
But I guess that's Nien.
It works for him. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many places that they have to defend and so many holes they're just not able to do much. Actually, Nien could be in some trouble. He has to Valk over, but he gets followed out by Kez. Not enough damage. Can he take the Lantern already?
He's not going to. He doesn't want to.
Need it. He doesn't absolutely need it, but wait a minute. Kyle just says, I'm going to get you sooner or later, and he picks him off.
Yeah. Nien got a little bit greedy for that kill, though.
And who he might have been a little caught out. That is 3 for 0, this time in favor of TDK. A bit like Team Fusion outplayed themselves.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, TDK are doing a good job of capitalizing on that mistake, though. In a heads-up fight like that, Fusion doesn't, their team comp doesn't really shine as much as they would in sort of that siege composition, or that siege situation, or like a pick situation. And they don't manage to find a pick. Nien gets punished for his poor positioning, gets punished for his greed for not clicking that Lantern.
But critically here, there's nothing that TDK could really take off of that. They're trying to force mid, but almost everybody's already back up, and Seraph has to back away. As well as Kyle.
Yeah, no objective taken, very true. But they narrow the gold lead just a little bit, and small victories like that are what you need to do to claw yourself back into a game where you're so far down. And like I said, they have a lot better of a team comp. They have a lot better ramping and scaling as this game is going to progress. Louis XGG is only going to get stronger as this game goes on. And again, focusing a lot on the attack speed earlier, I actually think that's the way to go for Kalista. Mobility seems to be the key here. And you can always buy that damage a little bit later on.
Yeah, and the amazing wave clear you get with the Runan's Hurricane, too, is just absolutely insane. But Jesus, Louis just eating those spears. Already at about half health. Woo! He nearly takes another one. Yeah, close shave. But Huhi is just flying these out left and right. The cooldown he has on that is so ridiculously low here. Oh, Chunky Fresh in some danger. Seraph on the chase, but he does have the Frozen Tomb, but he doesn't have enough escape. Seraph says, no thank you, come again.
Not a good sign for Chunky. He is ahead in CS, but giving up a 1v1 kill in this situation is really bad.
Dragon's live, too.
He does have teleport available, so in 25 seconds he will be able to join the fight, but that's
Seraph could just has to walk, though. They could try to force this while Chunky Fresh is still on cooldown. Everybody from Fusion is in the back of this Dragon Pit. They need to pull it out if they want to take it, but TDK has displayed pretty exceptional Dragon control in the past. Here's Seraph. He's made his move up. Chunky's still 5 seconds away. The Dragon is pretty low. They're going to have to attempt to steal if they want to do something, but wait a minute. Seraph caught out by Nien Tanso, and the Dragon gets picked up, but still TDK have now lost 2 members. A double kill going to Nien, and they're rolling on 4. They might pay very dearly for this one. Louis GG has to kite backwards, but he's got nowhere to go. A triple kill now. Nien Tanso just starting to steamroll through this Team Dragon Knights. They can go just about anywhere with this now, but they do need to start pushing back waves on the bottom side.
So Fusion loses the Dragon, but pick up 3 kills in the process. I'd say that's definitely worth it for them. Not only that, but they also pick up a triple kill onto the person on their team where they'd want that the most, that being Nien Tanso, who seems to be the main carry for this Fusion lineup. They're going to be able to pick up a second-tier turret as well, so overall, increase their gold lead quite substantially. TDK on the ropes once again.
Yeah, this is a pretty massive gold lead, as you mentioned, for Fusion. Now they're starting to set up the death brushes. They catch Kez as he wanders just a little bit too far. Might be able to escape, has to expend his ultimate to do it. And now this means they just, okay, guys, let's move up top side and start pushing in. Meanwhile, Huhi could just go wherever he damn well pleases.
Yeah, it's pretty much what Nidalee does. So, not as good as utilizing who he has a split pusher as opposed to like if it was on a top laner with teleport, but still really great stuff. And Nintendo gets caught while the rest of his team is backing.
Oh boy, here comes Chunky though. Don't think they want to change targets. It looks like it. Chunky Fresh actually tries for the two-step juke. He puts the ice prison down, but he might not be very long here. Down he goes, and that's Kyle picking him up. They're still finding picks, but they're losing out quite a bit. A tower gets taken in the middle now. For TDK, they were finally able to secure that last outer one. And Louis GG finds his Oathsworn over by the river.
Chunky Fresh probably hates Nintendo right now. He came to try and help him, and he was the one that ended up dying in that situation.
That Raptor has a lot of spears in it. Ouch.
Oh, look at that attack speed.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Well, it's attack and move speed, technically.
Yeah, most likely Bloodthirster next.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense in this situation. He picks up the Vamp Scepter already, of course.
Scales with Runedanc's Hurricane scales with Bloodthirster as well as Blade of the Rune King and Rend. So that combination of 3 items, it's what won TDK.
Well, it's an insane amount of lifesteal, too.
Oh, yeah, and of course with the attack speed, the same amount of mobility, you can tell it's so easy for XGG to just jump around these fights. Makes it hard to lock him down, especially with Blade of the Rune King active.
Now it's settled down just a little bit, Fusion. They've made a couple of mistakes here, nothing really major, but they are hanging on to a lead of about 6,000 gold. TDK answered back a tower or two in the process. They've cracked those outers, but they have to start getting a little bit further in. And Fusion still trying to set up baits, but TDK playing a little bit more cautious now, not letting themselves get caught out.
So Monster Dragon
Knights.
Monster Dragon Knights. MSI. I was thinking MSI, Dragon Knights. Lots of K's and M's.
These.
MSI Team Dragon Knights right now. They're not getting further behind. It's been around a 5 to 6K gold deficit for them for about 10 or so minutes, maybe 8 or so minutes. So at least they're not giving Fusion any more advantages across the map. The only thing that they need to do right now is just try and stall as much as possible. Xerath is a great champion for that.
Kez nearly getting a little bit caught. They find Trance actually. They'll lock him up, a little out of position. No help is coming, but he flashes. Kez will kick him into the head. There we go, and they're all roaming together now. TDK finds they have a small power play to be able to do something. Here comes Seraph around the side, and 10 X. The rest of Fusion is here. But wait a minute, there's the Zanya's Hourglass, and that's going to be a shutdown going over to Louis GG, finding the Antonso 2-for-none, the Team Dragon Knights, and they're trying to cut off the escape path for Fusion, but they're just trying to sneak up back in the bush. Nintendo X, though, he's going to get caught up. It looks like they managed, Chunky managed to get out. Well, he's not even really in danger. I mean, Huhi, but it's still a 3-4-0 at the end of the day, and they're going to start up the Baron.
This is a bold move, and it looks like a little bit of a desperation attempt here as well. Huhi's going to get here in time.
It's super dangerous considering
Chucky
if they just wait a little bit. You know, they're really low at this point. Huhi's here. They have the assassination potential. Baron's not going down fast enough, and they might find the picks they need. Kev's nearly blown up. Huhi gets Kyle, and they're still going for more. Can they play this 2v5? It looks like it. A double kill. Even more is incoming as far as what it looks like. Triple goes over to Huhi. Trance is back, chasing Conquan away, and that Baron attempt was absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, you could smell the desperation.
And it's not over yet.
In that Baron attempt.
The unofficial Quadra.
Wow. So that was bold and very, very risky and borderline just bad for TDK. I mean, they're down really far in this matchup, but for me, I think they did have the potential to stall out. And using that downtime where they picked up 3 kills for nothing could have been a great time to set up some vision control. Maybe even head on over to the Dragon to try and gain control over that with it being up in about 10 seconds.
That was the opposite of stalling out.
Yeah, but now they give the Baron over to Fusion instead, plus a lot of kills over to Huhi, 4 to be exact. And they might have just put the nail in their own coffin in that situation.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird there. TDK finding themselves even further down. They're going to try to answer back for it, but Nien just gets the express lane out of there. Dragon is now live.
Teleport coming in.
Yep.
Oh, it's behind. Okay.
They're going to take the slow Dragon path. TDK has displayed exemplary Dragon control here. It's going to get picked up by Louis GG, and Trance Therapy actually kicked and bubbled at the same time, but where did Kyle go? And now Fusion is just wrecking through the line. That's going to be another pickup for Niantanso. Seraph by himself, he puts his Zanyas on, but that's not going to keep him alive for very long. There's nowhere for him to go, and who he just says, swipe to the face. There he goes down, 3 for none. They don't even need the Dragon at this point. TDK might have 3, but
And
it doesn't matter if you're all dead.
Look at this wave. They got 2 of these empowered super minions. 20-second death timers on 3 of the main damage dealers for TDK.
That tower is evaporating.
Fusion might even be able to push in here for potential Nexus turrets, but they probably will back off after this one.
They're thinking about it. There we go. It's definitely a smarter choice to not push the advantage in this particular situation, but they're up 10,000 gold, and they're waiting for a pick, waiting so patiently, but I think the minions are giving it away, yeah. Baron buff has betrayed you, boys.
Yes, it has, and they're trying to get far away, but that Baron buff actually goes pretty far, so nothing they can do.
Womp, womp.
Yep, that's exactly. That just explained that situation perfectly. But still, Fusion, and they got a 10k gold lead now. Baron buff is still on them. It doesn't have much time left, but whoa, this is a sneaky move here.
Yep, Kyle just melts again, and he has not had the best of luck. It doesn't matter how well you can kite if you just get CC trained.
It's true. 9 kills for Nien, 7 kills for Huhi. Mid lane Nidalee seems to be working out. Doesn't seem like there's
really much they can do in this situation.
It doesn't seem like there's much difference between old Nidalee and this Nidalee as well.
Yeah, not the way Huhi plays it. I don't think he got the memo about the rework. And now, inhibitor number 2 being fired down here. They actually could just take the fight. Louis GG isolated from the rest of his team. Oh my goodness, Trance does go down though. Maybe they can turn this around, and it looks like it. They do take out Chunky Fresh, and now, oh, a double kill. Again, Louis GG looking for even more. He's trying to find Niantanso, but Huhi comes up with the return pick. Conquan running out of danger. The spear takes him down. There's a triple kill for the Nidalee, and it is a 3 for 4. Big shutdown for Kyle, but he's all alone. There are Baron minions, and the Nexus turrets are not looking too healthy.
Baron minions plus super minions.
Well, the Baron just goes away.
Yeah.
Oh, that was lucky timing for Kyle.
Very lucky. If you're going to want anybody up on your team as TDK right now, it's going to be Xerath. But that was a scary, scary moment there. And with 2 inhibitors down, it's going to be really tough for TDK to defend against a lot of this. They're so far behind in this game. Even when they get a pretty decent engagement, it still seems like they're just struggling, even to find a couple kills. Zhonya's Hourglass completed for Huhi. Almost full build completed for Nien here. Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, and Last Whisper to match his Trinity Force. It's looking grim right now for TDK, and they have to be thinking in their head, we don't want to be down 2-0 in this series.
We've seen miraculous comebacks before, but it just requires such an intense force of will, the concentration to be able to get back into this one. And TDK, they've just not had a chance so far in this series to really roll it on forward. That last game ending in a surrender. This time around, it's definitely not looking good. Well, they've made it a lot farther than they did last game, but you just gotta find a way back into this one. And Conquan, not only is he speared, he's hooked on up, and they can just find a way to get back in on him, but Trance is kind of by himself, and here's the rest of Fusion. Spear not gonna connect that time. Trance Therapy, though, still tanky enough to lead the charge. Conquan can't get back into this fight. Louis GG and Kyle, meanwhile, looking for Chunky Fresh. Everyone backs away.
Nobody dies.
Oh, as soon as we say it, goodbye Conquan, goodbye Trance Therapy, no more support. And Huhi with the legendary kill, but can he find Louis GG with the kite, the spider, sinking the fangs in, the rent proc, so Louis is just going absolutely ham, backwards this time, and Fusion is trying to chase him, but he's going to the wrong base. Nothing is connecting on him, and they just can't catch the Callista.
This is just crazy. Louis GG's putting on a clinic here.
How long can he do this? The spear's on. No, he's down. They finally got tired of him.
That was pretty absurd, though. But that's the power of that late game Callista with Runan's Hurricane plus Blade of the Ruin King.
Well, not to mention the Fury boots too.
Yeah, exactly. So much mobility going on right there.
I didn't think those were for kiting, but they are. Uh-oh, Chunky chasing Kez out. Ice Prison on, but here's Seraph out. He has to bail. And Kez actually could go back in on this. No, he's not going. Whoa! What was Chunky doing?
He realized that he was going to be dead anyway, so he decided to just go back in and try and pick up a kill onto Kez. But this is a turret destroyed, 9th turret of the game here for Fusion. Seems like only a matter of time before they piece together what they need to pull out a victory in this situation.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Oh, another one goes down. Is that a Nexus turret? I think it was.
Red team's inhibitor is respawning soon.
Yeah, they managed to pick one off. Big minions right there. And Fusion still rocking and rolling on forward, but they've yet to quite secure this game.
Yeah, so they have the tools right now.
They do have the tools to do it. TDK is a little scared right now.
This is the old school Nidalee build right now. Just full.
It's working exactly the same as the old Nidalee.
Haunted Guy is his last item. Maximum spear damage here. Full magic pen. Full AP. Absurd amounts of spear damage.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that one that hit Conquan. I mean, that's how you really go fishing old school style. So another dragon. This time it's picked up by Fusion, who grab, I believe that's just their second of the game. TDK has been controlling it relatively well, but that's really the only thing that's been keeping them in this game. Yeah. Baron's about to respawn, though, crucially now. And there's no inhibitor in the middle. There's an open one down bottom, and Fusion are mad dashing for it. This gives them so much Baron control, but they could actually just try and push this one in. They're so much stronger than Team Dragon Knights right now that they're going to stick around.
And a couple members of Team Dragon Knights were actually headed over to that Baron to see if it was being taken by Fusion. And it looks like Fusion is going to head on over to this Baron.
And they're not even trying to hide it right now. They're saying, come and fight us. We can take it. We can grab that as well. So confident. But you know, the last time that they were in a situation with Baron, it was a pretty desperate affair. This time they're on the other end of it. And TDK, desperate to try and find an in back into this game. They don't want to be down 0-2, as you mentioned. But Fusion is actually taking their time about this one. They are only sending Nien to deal with it, and he's actually sustaining it up completely. Look at how low that is already. That's just Nien.
That's funny.
Oh, no, they've caught Seraph. The Baron is down. No, it's not. What are they talking about? They're going to take the fight here, and that's Kez actually just trying to bait it out. Kyle's going to pick up Nien Tanso. This is actually working for TDK just barely as Trance Therapy melts as well. The Baron has already regen back up, and the split focus does not work out for TDK, and they're forced to, or does not work out for Fusion rather, and TDK is actually going to push on forward while everyone from Fusion is backing away.
So TDK stays alive here, and they take a 2-for-0 trade. Might even be able to pick up the Baron here. They do have to worry about those super minions pushing in the bottom, but they'll be able to take this super quickly. Louis XGG just jumping around this pit. Yeah, Nintendo X waiting off to the side.
They know he's here. It's such a risk. It's still technically a 50-50 if he's able to get in here. He does have his flash available. The Baron is low, but we've seen this one before. Here comes Nintendo X waiting for this fight, and he gets the steal. Team Dragon Knights on the ropes now. Can they stay alive? It doesn't look like it. Zanias and Ice Prisons flying all over the place, and a whole lot of death is being served up. Nintendo is going to get popped. So TDK comes up with a 3-for-3, but they lose the Baron, and they have to get back. There are no Nexus turrets.
No.
They have to escape. They have to just take this one out. Here we go, Louis GG. If there's anybody that can clear the minions fast enough, he's probably the one to send.
Oh, very close call, but Fusion manages to pick up that Baron buff, but aren't able to take out the fight in the end. And what a crazy engagement, what a crazy game so far. You can obviously tell that TDK, again, I talked about it earlier, that scaling is just a little bit better. Their team fight power is just a little bit better. So even being down a 10K gold deficit so far in this game, they're still coming out on top of these fights. Louis XGG is starting to become a real issue for Fusion. It's hard for them to lock him down unless they get the Frozen Tomb onto him. Kyle's sitting there on the backline, focusing them out as well. It's becoming problematic for them, and they're having to find more creative ways to pull out a victory. It was very close. They had super minions pushing down the bottom side. Even if they were able to just hold them off there a little bit longer at the Baron Pit, they would have won the game.
Yeah, they had 2 inhibitors down at one point, and it is troubling when you can't close like that. You said this at the beginning of the game. Fusion has a limited time window to really act. It may be a big one. This is one of the longer games we've seen today at 41.5 in. But TDK are holding strong, and that's with a 10,000 gold deficit.
Well, they had such a huge lead, and that's why their time window has sort of expanded so long here, is because, I mean, they had a 10,000 gold lead at 30 minutes, which is a huge deficit to come back from no matter how good your scaling is, no matter how good your team fight is.
Yeah, this is still pretty troubling for Fusion. Now, that being said, they're still very far up and they're winning fights fairly well when they're taking the position they want. This time, they just decide to try and brute force down the last remaining tower of the game. So they're at 11, or they're at 10 towers. If they can grab that last one, that will be every single one on TDK's side. But they can't quite close it out just yet. And honestly,
the lone tower.
The siege is a little bit lackluster here compared to the anti-siege that TDK have. And that Hurricane Callista.
Louis XGG just finished his last Whisper too,
yeah,
so
this is starting to hurt.
This last fight is the last defense for TDK here, and I don't know. It's risky for Fusion as well. They know in a heads-up fight they might not even come out on top.
Well, and they're running out of super minions down bottom too. If they had a much larger wave, this would be a much better tactic to try and force their attention split. But as it stands, they can just send Seraph down there for just a second, and then they're completely fine. And Louis GG, ooh, gotta be careful, does take a spear, but they've got the sustain. Now that Conquan's gotten up there, he's been able to get this one out. Looks like the tower is going to fall, though they back away from it. Last tower, they find Kez on a hook. Maybe this is where they can end it all, but Kez is going to try and escape right to the arcane from Xerath. Is not going to do nearly enough, but Fusion are now on the ropes. All of a sudden, Kez takes out Trance Therapy. It is still a 5 for 4 right now, but Inhibitor coming back up, and Fusion did not get what they wanted out of that one. Just the tower, still can't pick the inhibitor, and there are 3 inhibs back up for Team Dragon Knights with 18 seconds on the next dragon.
This is pretty crazy. It's a battle of Fusion, who has such a big lead. TDK's base is in shambles, but Fusion just can't win a fight. They can't seem to win a fight. They blew everything on Kez there. Frozen Tomb, they used all their CC. They popped so much on him to try and take him down to win a fight, and they just couldn't do it. And now TDK is feeling confident. Yeah,
they're looking for the chase here now. This dragon would tie it up in terms of that. The 8% or the extra movement speed would help quite a lot for Fusion, but TDK are actually the ones in position to do it. See if they can't. It looks like it's taken again. Louis GG has gotten this more than Kez.
Yeah, that's funny.
I think it might be like the 3rd one they've taken. So that's the 4th dragon now for Team Dragon Knights. But yeah, the Callista's got more than the Lee Sin. That's how fast you're able to attack.
This will be the first time in this tournament that we've seen a super late game Callista, and Louis XGG is just causing problems for Fusion. It seems like the damage potential is there for Nien to be able to take him out, but he just can't hold him down. His mobility is just so good right now that they just can't lock him down. You saw that long chase up in the top lane.
I mean,
where
that was nuts.
He just hopped all the way across the lane.
He bought so much time for his team, too. That's the crazy thing. Like, even if he eventually went down, it's such a good stall tactic. And now that all the inhibitors are back up for Team Dragon Knights, no, they don't have any towers. So if they lose a fight, it's going to be game over. But if they win a fight, they can start shoving in pretty hard. They have an incredible siege themselves, and Fusion are kind of afraid to go too far forward here. Every time they do, they're getting punished.
Ooh.
How to dodge those hooks. Trance Therapy, flinging them out.
A pick would be huge at this stage for either team because the death timers are so long. We're 45 minutes in.
But look at how fast. That's just Nien Tanso poking at that tower, or at that inhibitor rather, and it's already at to half health.
Niantanso has the Guardian Angel as well, so has a little bit of leeway here.
He does, but that kind of commits them if they get in that situation. Here we go. Inhibitor a little bit low, but Seraph in the front. They kick back Niantanso. He is incredibly low in this one, and look at that damage from Chunky Fresh. Yes, Louis XGG coming up big. Trance Therapy. Oh, the Zanyas is on, and they're turning it around. Fusion coming up huge in that fight, but it's still a 2 for 3. Double kill going to Huhi, looking for more. Conquan, the only man left standing. That's got to be game. That's going to be number 2. We've still got at least a third up after this one, but Fusion riding the momentum and riding it high into this game, looking for the fountain dive on Conquan, and they'll get the ace along with the game. 46.5 minutes in, we're going to match point.
So it was a long time coming, but Fusion's finally able to close that one out, and it was getting to a point where they had to make it happen. There was no turrets remaining for TDK. It was a last-ditch desperation attempt at starting a fight. I think Louis GG got a little bit too hyphy at the end of that fight. He ended up behind the team of Fusion. Not sure how he got there, hopping around a little bit.
He
but
hopped pretty fast.
He did have a decent game up until that point. Again, Callista scales pretty well. He just wasn't able to bring it back for his team. Playing from that big of a deficit for so long, you got to commend them for at least getting something, but very well played by Fusion. Their team comp made a little bit of sense, and they were able to get a lead early enough to where their scaling like game wasn't actually an issue.
I mean, they made a few more than sense, man. They made about 85 grand in gold, but
it's a lot.
That's quite a lot of money there, and they got up to a pretty high end-game value. They played it out incredibly well, but man, have we had 2 incredibly exciting games. And Nien Tanso, I don't want to else on Fusion, but he's just come up absolutely beastly. First on Jinx, now on Corki. I think you actually have to start thinking about banning the Corki, but there's so many tools that they have on this Fusion side, and he has been this linchpin to their success so far. Really, really incredible play from him. Nintendude, the later game he got into this one, he was able to start picking off targets. Credit to the side, however, of Team Dragon Knights, just for putting together that good stall. They nearly pulled it out, but I think they have to change their tactics just a little bit now. We get into game number 3. The back's against the wall, and if they do lose this one, they're out. They take home $4,000, a nice chunk of change, but they really want that title, and to give it up 0-3 would just not be a great way for them to go out.
Yeah, Fusion, it seems like they've just ramped up as this tournament has gone on. They struggled a lot against Storm in their first best of 3. They had a little bit of a rough time against Monster Kittens even though they had 2 quick victories. But it just seems like they're getting stronger and stronger. And when will it stop?
Well, I guess we'll find the answer out to that shortly.
TDK is saying, please send help.
They will ban out the Aurelia and the Syndra, so a little target at Huhi and Chunky Fresh, but there are just, again, so many weapons that they have to worry about here. Jason Rek'Sai off the board. Fusion bans those away. They could go for a Gnar pickup, but I don't really think it's really Seraph style. They do want to prioritize Lissandra, and they should get it this time if it doesn't get banned away. So they ban away Huhi Zed, and I think that's probably a really good idea too, because it limits his choices. However, the Nidalee was still pretty terrifying, in all honesty.
It was very terrifying. There was a couple situations where he was able to pick up like triple kills and a lot of cleanup kills, which is sort of Nidalee's specialty, especially now after the rework. But they definitely love that Lissandra, especially for Seraph. So getting that as a first pick is something that they're going to love.
They left a lot of the jungle alone here, so Nintendude, he's able to grab
Lee Sin,
his Jarvan. I think this has got to be a Lee Sin for Kaz, but Azir is also up for Kyle, who hasn't really been able to play this since yesterday.
TDK, these are a lot of comfort picks. The only pick, I think, I was looking at TDK's Rank 5 matches and some of their previous matches as they've been preparing for like the NACS and this tournament. Azir is next in line after Jace, and we've seen it banned the majority of the time throughout this tournament. So these are really big comfort picks for TDK. At the same time, though, Huhi's had some success on Kassadin. Nintendude X has had quite a bit of success on Jarvan as well. You talked about how he played that a lot throughout the expansion tournament. What will Nien play? That's the big question.
That is the question.
Corki's made it through.
He has.
Pretty
they were
far.
hovering it. The Janna is likely to be locked in regardless, but he's considering it as options. The thing for Fusion, though, is they have the luxury now of not having to win the pick and ban phase or having to come super ahead. Even if they lose this game, yes, it can swing the momentum, but if they kind of go into it with that casual mindset saying, hey, let's not worry about too much about taking away what we're worried about as much and let them have their comfort picks. And if we can beat them on their comfort picks, that's great. If we can't, we still have 2 more games to try at the most. And Louis GG just instantly picks up the Lucian. I'm not sure if I agree with that one there. Honestly, the Kalista wasn't really the issue last game.
Yeah, but you can also get into a situation where when you lose like a really long game like that, you're thinking, well, we need to change things up a little bit. And Lucian is still strong.
He is different.
Players are still experimenting with Kalista, so it's hard to sort of gauge your strength on a certain champion in a competitive environment when you don't really get many opportunities to do so. How many times do you think Louis XGG has been to a super late game like that on Kalista in a competitive match? Probably not very many. Maybe he realized that playing a different AD carry might be a better choice in this situation.
Well, Lucian late game won't be quite so good for them either. At least they'll have the sustain. Yeah, we get to see the Soraka. I thought it'd be a Thresh pickup, but Conquan goes for the Soraka. We'll have a mobile heal bust this time around. A lot of sustain in that lane. We'll see how that one goes. Uhi now thinking about the Seraph himself. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see that. They have a lot of disengage and poke.
Synergizes really well with the Jarvan as well. You can lock targets in, hold them down, and of course, if you land an EQ combo, it makes it easy for stun. If you land a stun, it makes it easy for EQ combo. Trapping a bunch of people in the Cataclysm makes it so you can just the double dunk.
Yeah. Well, you can just take three free throws at the end of it.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's locked in now. This is a little curious. So TDK is very comfort pick oriented, and their bot lane's a little bit different. But Fusion, on the other hand, have a very defined game plan in mind, and it's a little bit of everything. They have some snowball potential. They have some fallback if they get behind. I'm not entirely sold on the Kassadin in particular for Chunky Fresh. I know they couldn't get a hold of Lissandra. I would have maybe liked a tank in this situation, but Nintendo can do that in a pinch as well.
This is the first time we'll see Chunky on Kassadin so far this tournament. He's played Aurelia, Lissandra, Azir. Is that it?
I think that is, really. We haven't seen that many games from him.
Well, we've seen quite a few. They've gone.
But this
will be the 9th game.
He's kind of stayed on Lissandra as much as he possibly can.
We're not,
so is Seraph, too.
Not necessarily criticizing him for a small champion pool, but he's played a small pool worth of champions.
Welcome to Summoner's
And team comp, a little bit weird for TDK. I'm trying to think how this makes sense, but coming up blank.
Wait, the bait. Oh, the flag, the value flag.
Indeed.
Yeah, Nintendo just nopes out of that one. This is match point right now for TDK. They're going to pull out all the stops to try and win this game, but if Fusion take it on 3-0, that would be a massive confidence boost for them going into the NACS, and $8,000 in their pocket isn't too shabby either, but either way, these teams go home with 4.
With how close a lot of these series have been, it would be weird seeing a 3-0.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, kind of almost anticlimactic, considering they've been really back and forth. But it's also been a lot of stomps. We've seen one team completely get the better of another consistently. And this series has been a little bit closer. TDK has been able to make some plays, but they just keep getting edged out. And that's where Fusion seems to shine the most.
Fusion's like a Pokemon.
They evolve.
Yeah, they evolved over the tournament.
They learn new moves.
Yeah.
They can only learn 4 at a time.
Yeah. They started as Squirtle.
In the
semifinals, they were War Turtle.
I'm going to start a new version of Pokemon, and I'm going to name
now they're Blastoise.
Each of my champions after Fusion players now.
Yeah.
It's actually really good names for Pokemon. Except I don't think Vampire Goku fits.
You tell a lot about a person by what they're starting Pokemon.
Always Charmander.
Wow. I know. I feel like you just opened up your mind to me.
I'm an open book already. Kez and Nintendo are going to try and fight over by the red buff pit, but Kyle is going to roll around the side. Other than that, fairly standard start to this game.
Level 1 Kyle.
He is a level 1 Kyle. Luigi G. It's a bit of a heal in this bottom side. A lot of sustain here for the TDK bot lane. Conquan also can be incredibly poke-oriented, but he's gone for the coin start too. So he doesn't have to be. He's not committing to the Frost Queen starting item.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think of how this TDK lineup makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of is a bit of a pickle, isn't it?
They have a strong bot lane, and the bot lane seems to be a big focus for Fusion. They have strong matchups in lane overall, but if you think about their late game potential,
ooh, okay.
They don't have a playmaking support. They really only have two real ways to start a fight, and that's either with a Lissandra or a creative Lee Sin engagement. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, whereas Fusion's is very straightforward. They have a few ways to engage, either with Kassadin jumping in and using Force Pulse with a follow-up, or with like a Zera stun into a follow-up with Jarvan, or Jarvan just with a follow-up just being Jarvan.
Yeah, well, TDK is a little bit less of a conventional team than Fusion is.
It's very true.
Yen is actually bursted fairly low, and Luigi G avoids most of the damage, able to dash out of the Phosphorus Bombs. One thing that Lucian does better than Graves, well, is his E is a little bit easier to use, a little bit quicker to use. You don't have to rely on setting the cooldown by attacking. Graves is kind of more forward-oriented, whereas Lucian can get in, can get out. Can be a relentless retreat sometimes.
Yes, it can. No sustain in this lane either, so any damage that they put on is going to stick.
Well, to Yen at least. And there really haven't been that many shields from Trance Therapy. See, there's one right there, but the banana is going to wear through it.
Doesn't look as much of like a banana anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of a shiny banana, like a little disc.
Looks like a Metapod.
We're going back to Pokemon, are we?
Yeah. It's definitely Metapod-esque.
All right.
Makes sense.
If you say so. Kez is spotted out here by Nintendude X with the double buffs and both junglers making moves around the side. Nintendude actually very bold positioning, but he dodges out the Sonic Wave and returns way more damage onto Kez. And Nintendude actually, again, picks up the Rangers Trailblazer. I don't think he really had to in this situation, but it seems like he's preferring it right now. And Nien Tanso very low. Shields on a little bit late. Trance Therapy on this Janna. A little bit slow to react to some of this, but again, Nien just doesn't really fear all of this. Valking away. That could have easily been First Blood. Nintendude X there hanging around, and Kez still in this bottom side of the map. Starts making his move up to the jungle.
Yeah, and Nintendude X has to come down to that bottom lane pretty much solely for damage control. He's going to see that ward placed, so he's going to know not to stick around that Gromp too long.
Wow, the dragon.
Whoa, bold
really
move.
Early start by TDK. But this is what they love to do. They love to keep the dragon control, and there's really no reaction just yet, but here comes Nintendude X. This could change very quickly. Conquan attempting to zone right here, and he actually has to bail out Flag and Drag as Kyle comes and joins the party. A little slow reaction from Fusion. They just really haven't gotten in here in time. Kez should be able to smite this down, and he does.
Nice early dragon pickup.
In some trouble. There we go. They can bail out. I don't know about Conquan, though. They could pick a kill up for this. He's going to actually get healed up by Luigi G. And Conquan, that's first blood. Going to Trance Therapy, though. Not the worst thing in the world for Team Dragon Knights. Fusion get out with just the one kill, and up in the top lane, Chunky Fresh taking low. The minions are helping out Sarah. There's the Glacial Path, and he doesn't even need to take it. Kez now in some trouble under his own tower. Nintendude taking the aggro. It's going to go over to Nien Tanso. Luigi G is caught between a tower and a wall, and they should be able to get him, but can he get somebody back for it? Trying to dodge everything out. No, he goes down, and everyone bails out away. 2 kills for none there in that bottom side.
Great turret juggling there for that aggro, being able to pick up a couple kills, but doesn't spell very good things to see Chunky Fresh on his first showing of Kassadin so far in this tournament, going down in a 1v1 situation to Seraph, who Lissandra seems to be a very big comfort pick for him. And it seems like he can carry from that top lane position on that champion. Giving early kills to him, not the best thing.
No, absolutely. It's really troubling that he hasn't been able to get away from this. He hits 6 now, so he has Rift Walk available to him to escape. But Seraph is clearly more comfortable on Lissandra than Chunky is on Kassadin. And it's starting to show solo-wise. He's down in farm. He's had a bit of a rough time. But everyone else on Fusion is not really too worried right now. They're all playing it out pretty well, staying even at the very least in lane. And with those extra 2 kills picked up on the Fusion side, they're looking pretty happy about that.
So only 1,000 gold lead here for Fusion, but that gold is made up from TDK because of that early dragon they were able to take. Earliest dragon we've seen so far in the tournament. Team Dragon Knights definitely living up to their name. Even in last game where they were behind by about 10,000 gold for 20 minutes, they still had the lead on dragons. Definitely a very objective focused team. Where Fusion just loves to get kills.
They do tend to take them in opportune moments, though, as well. Maybe not always around the dragon, but they start rolling and grab a tower, grab a little bit more off the top of it.
McNoon really rubbed off on them.
Yeah. Well, they definitely go a little bit ham, that's for sure.
Even though he's not on the team anymore, his spirit still lives on.
It's just whispering in their ears very slowly.
Yes.
America.
Ian seems to be a really aggressive player.
Yeah,
in the AD carry position.
He is absolutely fantastic in his positioning, even when he's down incredibly low. And it hasn't really burned them very much at all. He's, even on his worst day, he plays a little above average. I mean, really been impressed with Ian this whole tournament.
Well, a couple times he's been punished, but the majority of the time, his risky positioning pays off.
Well, he has a lot of help from his team as well, and you know, there's a lot of trust on this Fusion side, and a lot of experience for the individual players here. Now, Chunky and Seraph continuing to duel it out, but dangerously close to tower range. Seraph just gets the better of these trades, it seems, every time. And considering he doesn't really have that much damage in his repertoire just yet, he's doing quite well. Now a siege for Fusion down the middle as well. They're kind of happy to let that top lane get pushed against them because they know they can do a lot of work between mid and bottom. Kez now very low along with Kyle. They have to back off. This will be the first tower for Fusion as they poke down the middle.
Yeah, it seems like they're coming out on top of at least the bottom side of the map here for Fusion. Getting these turrets, they really need to make use of their advantage from this top lane. It's hard to transfer an advantage from the top lane over to the rest of the map, especially when there's no dragon available. But Seraph seems to be definitely giving Chunky a hard time. Now you have to factor in scaling in this game, but I really don't see a scaling advantage for either team here. Soraka provides a lot of utility late game, but she doesn't have any opportunities for playmaking, which a lot of the times is one of the downfalls of her as a support. You look at most of the popular support picks right now with Janna, Thresh, Nami. They all have potential to make plays or either disengage or engage. Soraka just doesn't have that.
Ooh, teleport in!
Uh-oh.
The Antonso seeing if he can pick one up, but there's also a heal, and Conquan's just running around to try and stop this. Chunky Fresh helps the kill be secured by Niantanzo, who picks himself up a double, looking for some more. Seraph is here, though. It could get turned around. Team Dragon Knights not slouching after this one. Chunky Fresh, Kaz is going to follow him in, and he takes him out, so it ends up being a 2-for-2. And nobody gets out too far ahead. Trance Therapy trying to book it back to safety, but Kyle is here and actually could start putting the hurt on him. Those soldiers just start to scale pretty crazy. We haven't talked as much about this mid lane champions, but they have hit a pretty decent power spike.
Yeah, well, Azir takes a long time to ramp up. A lot of times early on, he just can't do much damage. His utility in small skirmishes isn't the best. Later in the game, in later game teamfights, his Emperor's Divide can really provide a lot, but he could be in trouble.
Yeah, if he gets cut
over the wall,
that's
though.
all for naught, too. Wait just a minute, though. They're still poking him down, but Hui might have gone too far
Oh!
forward. And Louis GG just coming up out of nowhere, picks him off, and gets a much-needed kill this game.
A little bit of a positioning error. I don't know if he expected Louis XGG and Conquan to be coming up the mid lane instead of heading back down bottom. And it couldn't come at a worse time because Dragon is spawned here And giving TDK more dragon buffs is not what they need to do. The dragon buffs in the last game of this series were actually what helped TDK to stay in the game for so long when they were so far behind.
Yeah, and they're not going for it here just yet, but they're setting it up as safely as they possibly can. TDK really is a team that loves to grab the dragon as much as they possibly can. They're going to aggro it, starting this one up. The Scuttle Crab's here. A lot of vision out there and made sure of by Trance Therapy, but they're starting to burst it down, not as quick as they would have liked, but Intended is here. This is incredibly risky. No one is dead on the side of Fusion. They're going to try to peel away, but Nien's going to go ahead and burn his flash. Meanwhile, Ember's Divine, huge right here, and Intended X is trying to save his team, but just like that, he and Trance Therapy evaporate. Con Quan getting a kill on that one, and Nien just can't get involved. Chunky Fresh and Huhi in danger. Oh, he tries to get the kickoff. It's not going to go, and they'll just chase him all the way away. Dragon is still alive, still a dangerous situation, but it's a 3v5 for Fusion. Are they really going to try and take this? It looks like they pushed TDK off.
It's really dangerous for TDK to stick around because Xerath has so much poke, especially when you're tunneling yourself into that type of situation. Still very early into the game, only 14 minutes. You can tell the people that died early on in that fight, Nintendo X and Trance, were both back up. And down to Flirting with Disaster once again.
Yeah, now that is a situation where Graves would have gotten a kill.
Perhaps.
But all the same, he wouldn't have been in that situation if Louis hadn't culled him earlier.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Louis XGG has just auto-locked in like Graves or Callista whenever Corki hasn't been available in this tournament.
And all of a sudden he brings
And as
out
soon as
Lucian.
it gets his turn to pick, he picks Solution. Maybe he thinks he wanted to change things up a little bit. It's worked out pretty well for him thus far. They had a good lead early on in the lane. Even though Nien has 4 kills, he is still 20 CS down. But they have to worry about that power spike. Trinity Force completed for Nien Tanso. Corki seems to be his bread and butter champion.
Yeah, 4-1, not going to be too shabby either. And fighting over the Crab right now is TDK. Yep,
Crab.
Secured on up.
Crab genocide continues.
Wonder if there's like a ticker somewhere that tells how many crabs have been killed on the Rift.
If not, there should be.
Needs to be in some awareness of that. The Fusion doesn't care.
Save the crabs.
Neither does TDK. Whoa! Trance Therapy, though, a little bit caught out of position. Monsoons to save himself. Key Summoner spell blown, and Kez will kick him to the face. And that might be the key for them to start trying this dragon. They're a little bit low. Con Quan about at half health right now, and they're still trying to bait out fights. Whoop, a little bit low. Wish is used. Kyle in the back of the Dragon Pit in some serious danger as well. And they're going to just try to turn a fight, but Fusion is so good at kiting this one out. Chunky Fresh now finding an isolated Kez who will safeguard back to the rest of his team, and they just can't take this dragon. They're not being allowed.
They have such a tough team to deal with right now, and this goes back a lot to the pick and ban phase, I think. I said earlier on in the game, I have trouble finding ways that this TDK team works. It's hard for them to close in onto Huhi. It's hard for them to lock down Chunky Fresh. And you can tell, even if they manage to pick off kills, it seems like they have the advantage. Fusion's team comp just comes out in the end.
Yeah, and this dragon is looking to be picked up by them too. Oh, it gets picked up by Louis. GG, even if he dies here, completely worth. And Team Dragon Knights again come up with this miraculous Dragon Steal. Now Seraph, he's caught in the pit. Can they take the fight? Kez is going to be able to pick up Trance Therapy. Shut down though. Huhi is going to be able to pick up even more. Seraph answering back, Chunky Fresh with a double kill, and they find themselves 4 for 1. Now it is Fusion who have turned the tables, but still 2 dragons to none for Team Dragon Knights.
And it's starting to look a lot like last game. If you remember, Louis XGG is the master of stealing dragons. He got 2 less game as Callista with his Rend, and once again, TDK finds himself in a position where they're losing fights.
How do you outsmite the smite?
But they're getting dragons.
Oh, Nintendo didn't have his up. I don't think.
It's possible. He does have Ranger's Trailblazer.
No, I think, actually, no. I think he smited it just a little bit early.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just such a small window. I'm impressed that TDK is able to do that. Now, they've lost a lot in gold. They lose a tower there. But in all honesty, dragons have been keeping them alive. It's not the greatest trade because of the follow-up. I think it was a huge mistake by Seraph to go back in and try to force a fight, considering all they got was Trance Therapy, but hindsight's 20/20.
Fusion still holding on to their lead in this matchup. And it's going to be pretty tough for them. I can't reiterate enough, it's just so hard for them to start fights.
Yeah, it is a really weird composition, but they have been able to pull some scrappy plays out of it. Kez gets a little bit caught up, and here comes Seraph. They get the Ice Prison out. Trance Therapy, though, trying to keep his teammate alive. Uhi extremely low, right in the Arcane, going nuclear and picking up Kez. They just aren't getting a break here. 2 blinking health bars, but they don't get Uhi or Trance Therapy.
Nintendo closing in.
Or
better yet, Niantonso closing in.
Niantonso took way more damage than he bargained for there,
Vampire Goku.
Yeah. Well, he has gone Super Saiyan these last couple games, so I suppose it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Still Fusion in a lead, but they've had their series of close calls as well. They're finding Team Dragon Knights definitely have some claws.
Yeah, we told the story earlier, but when Niantonso was told to change his name for clarity back to Fusion Nien, he said, okay.
Came back into the lobby.
Left the lobby, came back as Vampire Goku.
With a vengeance.
If that's not Nien in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
Seems pretty Nien.
Yeah, these TDK guys, it's been a pretty good story thus far.
This new roster is really working out for them. I mean, no matter
really
what does happen, if they do lose this match, if they do lose this tournament, they've played miraculously well. Now, Chunky Fresh actually jukes Team Dragon Knights. They weren't really going to be able to mop him up anyways because of that tower. But, yeah, they're playing with a lot of heart here. It's really, really good to see them fight back, despite how rough that first game ended up being, how close that second one was, and they just still don't have anything. If they can answer back here, that would be what they need to get back into this one. But they're still trying to find picks.
Oh,
Kez
no.
goes way too far forward, but you know what? That's what you have a Soraka for. And here comes Seraph. They manage to pick up Trance Therapy off the back of that.
But again, they find a kill, they find a pick here, but they just can't turn it into anything. They're keeping themselves in the match by stealing dragons, by finding picks, by making finding creative ways to engage these fights the best that they can with limited tools.
Oh, Chunky.
Meanwhile,
Okay. That just happened.
okay, let's
Yes,
zoom in.
we're going to zoom all the way in on the dead Lucian.
Zoom in on his dead body. Thank you.
That's just rude. Very rude. Team Dragon Knights, apart from some isolated fights and catches, are still finding a way to hold on here. They do need this game if they want to stay alive in this tournament, else it would be a 3-0 for Fusion. Unheard of, considering all the close matches we have had so far today and all of yesterday, to be honest. Some really amazing play from all these teams involved, and it just continues right here. They've found Nien. Do they have enough damage to polish him off? The Wish is going to help keep Seraph alive, but not for very long. Everyone from Fusion collapsing around. Kez, the heal is on. Astral Blessing to keep him okay, but they've already lost Seraph, and they don't seem to have enough damage to be able to poke down anyone from Fusion. Just barely not getting the results, and Kyle, ooh, that flag whizzed by his left ear.
Yeah, Nintendo realizes that there's nobody there to help him, so he's going to back off. And
so many close calls, but look at Nien right now. He's 5-1-5. That's an incredible kill participation rate. He is just so strong, and they can't get the picks, and Kyle, he just gets really low from that one.
yeah, Huhi's been finding some narrow misses on some of these kills, but he's definitely been playing well. It seems like this team comp definitely centers around that Xerath, and being able to utilize him as a poke and siege tool. Dragon is spawning in about 10 seconds. Looks like they've caught Louis XGG out.
Yep, he's getting chunked down pretty low here. Teleport actually flashes into the brush, trying to outplay, but he can't quite do it. And Trance Therapy with the zone. A flash for a flash is burned, and Seraph is going down to Chunky Fresh, and the Dragon is back up, boys.
And finally, Fusion will hopefully finds a way to get a Dragon.
Thank you, says Nintendo. I will take the express route into
you know
the
what?
Dragon pit.
I was going there anyway.
They will need this Dragon, too. And Louis GG can't steal it, so they do take it down. One Dragon in their pockets finally, but This is only going to just start solidifying the lead that they have. About 6,000 to 7,000, 6,500 gold up in this game over Team Dragon Knights, and they are down 1 dragon, but they're still fairly far ahead in the rest of the game, 4 towers to 1, and they are just a little bit more objective focused. When they get those kills, they know what to do with them, sieging down this bottom tower. And this is really starting to look like the last game, you're right.
Now, Azir does have good scaling going into the later stages of the game.
It's also got turrets.
Also has turrets, which can be a good tool in stalling out.
Oh, hoo-hee! Getting melted down, Seraph. And this time, Luigi G, though, getting picked up by a rocket. It's a 1-for-1. Here comes Kez, just cannot find the assassination, and the mobility from Fusion means they can just walk it out, or can they? Flash over the wall, trance therapy, avoid Seraph. They're just continually changing targets, but they can't find any more picks.
And in the end, that's only a 1-for-1 trade, so much work done from TDK, and they just can't find it. But yeah, Azir, like I said, he can stall out games with his turrets. Later on in the game, he can do a sneaky amount of damage, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Once again, TDK finds himself in a spot where they're just so far behind that they're going to have to win a lot of fights on a road to be able to come back into this one. 7K gold deficit here at 24 minutes. They're still putting up good fights in a lot of this. They're not very many kills down. You can see they still have potential for picks, but Louis XGG, he's been one of the shining points on TDK up until this match here. I mean, this is the first game we've seen him on Lucian. He's played a fantastic Graves throughout the tournament. He's played a fantastic Callista and Corki throughout the tournament. Insta-locks Lucian in this game, and I mean, Fusion's definitely punished him for a lot of positioning errors so far.
Yep, Seraph has been punished just a little bit there too. But you know, what Louis GG's been able to accomplish quite well, despite the fact that he's been down, he's 1 in 6, he's still able to get some decent items in this game. He's not held too far down. He goes for the Ghost Blade on top of his Infinity Edge, and maybe he doesn't have more than basic boots after that. Yes, he's still a little bit starved, but he is making the best of it, and he's kept up in farm and actually beaten out Nien in farm, which is a pretty impressive feat in and of itself.
It is, but you notice a lot of the times where he's getting caught out, he's down in the bottom lane by himself farming. And then he just gets collapsed on. He overextends in the lane, and even though he's getting a lot of farm, he's just sacrificing his positioning, taking too many risks to try and get that farm.
Yep, now Nien Tanso, speaking of risks, that guy just loves pushing forward, and he knows he's got his Valk to bail himself out of danger. Team Dragon Knights still trying to find an angle to collapse, calling to soften up the Fusion squad. But they have to get back to defend against Chunky Fresh. Split push Kassadin. A little bit powerful. They send Seraph back to deal with it.
Chunky, though, it was really rough for him in the laning phase early on. He actually got solo killed by Seraph early in the laning phase. But now it seems like he's really starting to come into his own here. And, of course, Kassadin, as the game goes on, he's going to get more powerful against these.
Oh, do you go in on that one, Kez?
Damage.
No, he's not going to. He didn't know where the rest of the team was.
It's a Trinity Force Bloodthirster Corki with 7 kills right now. There's not much Kez can do.
I will give this to Kez. He does not suffer from Lee Syndrome.
No, he doesn't. He's a little bit starved for gold in this game thus far. Pretty much all he's been able to build is his jungle item. And the Aegis there.
And a Sightstone, but that's, of course, going without saying. Yeah, it really has been TDK doing the best they can without a lot of gold in their pockets. A very scrappy effort from them, at least in games 2 and 3. And they haven't rolled over like the first game of the day, but they have to win this one. Must win. $8,000 is on the line and the title of EPS Season 11 champion, but Fusion seem to want it more. On the verge of ending this one if they can get the W here.
This would be a big confidence boost for them. Also, after a heartbreaking loss in the expansion tournament, losing a couple of their team members with Glebe and MacNoon moving on, it seemed like a rough time for them. And this win would be a huge confidence boost. On the other side, TDK, who have a long road ahead of them in this series if they're going to want to take this one. It's a good story for them, too. Kyle, or also known as Nara Kyle, Jace-only streamer, challenger player from Korea, came over to the US to try out for Coast. Thought it was a really promising opportunity, but the communication issues that he was going to suffer with that team, being a Korean speaker, was going to be too much, and Coach just didn't want to deal with it, opted to go for Jessis instead. And it worked out for him. He found this team, TDK, an American team who they have 2 Korean Americans plus Seraph, who's an exempt non-resident. Yeah, exactly.
LCS. So they wouldn't even have to change their roster if they were to make LCS. And it's cool. They all their comms, they're in Korean. The communication issues are great, are non-existent there. And yeah, it's a great story for TDK, and their showing has been incredibly impressive with this new roster, making it, since the formation, making it to the final round of a tournament like this, going into the NACS, no matter what the results are, they are looking very good. But Fusion right now just look a little bit better. Let's see if TDK can hold on here. They do need to secure the drags. It is currently 2-1 in favor of Team Dragon Knights. If they get that third, they get a big movement speed boost, but they might actually just try to shove down middle. They could get flanked here. This is very dangerous. Kez, he's incredibly low. The coin is popped to try to escape. Wish is on. Kez manages to get out just barely, but they have to bail quickly, and they've lost so much of their health bars here. Scuttlecrab in a really bad situation for himself. He is going down, though. Louis GG coming up with a kill. Nintendo picks off Kyle. Here he comes. That is going to be another pickup for Niantanto. A double kill now for Nintendo X. In the back of all that, Conquan running for his life. Will he get away? He's gonna flash it up, and that is looking like it will be the ace, and Trance Therapy can lock it up. Supportal combat. Who's it gonna be? And Conquan gives up the ghost as soon as the BM ends. There's the ace at 29 minutes.
An ace. And that all started with Kez just getting caught out in the mid lane, and they're just so far behind at this stage in the game that it's just there's not enough for them. Scaling is not an issue for this Fusion team at all as well. They know that even if they play this patient, play the long game, they're still going to be able to have a good team fight. Niantanto right now has 9 kills, almost 3 items completed for him as well. A Baron pickup may very well be the nail in the coffin here for these TDK guys, and they're going to need to scrap for something. They stayed in the game for 45 minutes last one.
Rush the Dragon. That's the best bet you've got right now, but you just gave up a Baron to Team Fusion. They have such a massive gold lead right now. And yeah, how about Niantanto? A 75% kill participation rate and 1 death. This guy is a monster. Here comes Chunky Fresh to try to get the steal. Not quite going to happen that way, but it looks like he does pick it up, and they're just confused. TDK is like, what just happened to us? Fusion picks it up with a Xerath, and now Chunky, he's starting to roll through the team. This is a disaster for TDK right now. The 2 dragons to 2 dragons, they just think they've been demoralized by this. Louis GG will pop a shutdown, but he's going out as well. 3 kills for 1. They're looking for more, and that is going to be Nintendo X, and that is going to be a 4-for-1 for Team Fusion.
And Nintendo X picking up the Tiamat and using that for the kill right there. That is not a good sign. They're not going to be able to defend against this Baron buffed push.
They have nothing to do. What can Seraph do in this situation?
Look how fast these towers
incredibly quick. That is going to be an inhibitor. It's 30 minutes into this game. Are they going to keep pushing on this one? No, the death timer's way too low. They've gotten empowered recall, and they can just clear up top. They can push down the side lanes, and now they have the pressure on their side. TDK feeling a ticking clock over their heads.
There's no hurt in playing this one out, playing it safe for Fusion. 2 games to 0 up in this series thus far. They want to make sure that they just close this one out nice and relaxed. Just picking up kills left and right here, increasing their advantage. Now, you have to think back to last game. TDK was down about 10,000 gold for almost 20 minutes. And they still managed to keep themselves in.
And Kez, he's just caught way out of position in his own jungle. And I don't even think Nintendo was really needed there. The knockup maybe helped it out.
They're confined to their own base.
So much damage there.
They could be caught out here.
There we go. Trance Therapy is actually caught up, but it's Seraph who's going down. Another pickup for Niantanto, who he's going to take down Conquan. They lose Trance Therapy, but I don't think they're too broken up about it. Kyle, there's a double kill. Nian, can he get even more? It looks just like it. And they have started to roll through this base. An ace. Kez is coming up in 3 seconds. The triple kill is there. And the surrender. That's it. GG, Team Fusion, and taking a 3-0 win over Team Dragon Knights to end the EPS. What a miraculous finish after how close it's been. A quick series.
A dominating performance by Fusion in that last one. They really did evolve as that tournament progressed. A rough series in the quarterfinals, a little bit better of a series in the semifinals, and then a 3-0 decisive victories all the way through in that grand final. Fusion with a big victory under their belt and a huge confidence boost for them, proving that their new lineup is worth something moving forward into the North American Challenger Series.
Absolutely. A massive confidence booster, as well as $8,000 in their pockets. We'll take a look at that final bracket. There you are. Your champion is Team Fusion for the ESL Pro Series Season 11, but not to take it away from the MSI, TDK, the Dragon Knights, as they're called. They did fantastic on this new roster of theirs. They played their minds out, and they nearly were able to take it. They didn't get any wins in that last set, but they really did make it all the way into the finals. They really played incredibly well and pulled off some miraculous plays, and I think they might have just started to shift the meta a little bit themselves. A little bit of unorthodox picks all around the board, and a really, really impressive performance from them. Yeah,
definitely a team to watch moving forward into the Challenger Series here for 2015. A lot of big stories with those guys. Sarah finding his home on a team as well. Louis XGG really impressed me. They had the only 2-0 in the quarterfinal. Yesterday, they were a team that impressed us the most, but Fusion really bringing it out. And a lot of strong teams in this tournament overall as well. I'm really excited for a lot of the Challenger action that we're going to get to see.
A big reversal, actually, of how the quarterfinal fortunes.
Sure.
I mean, Fusion was this close to being knocked out of the entire tournament in the quarterfinals. By storm. And then they turn it around after that big Baron fight. They come back into it, and then they absolutely demolish their the competition in those last couple of games. And I mean, Dragon Knights held on. They were able to stall out a little bit better, but really there was no stopping this Fusion lineup once they built up the momentum and the hype around them, and it really did pay off. And seeing this new lineup without Magnoon, without Glebe Glarbu, they seem very revitalized now. They seem to be in a good position, and I'm right with you. I'm very excited for the Challenger Series action coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, Niantanso, I would say, definitely the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
At least for the finals, maybe for the tournament. Even in their losses, he was the guy that was keeping them in the game. Double-digit kills in almost every single one of their victories.
Pentakill in game
Pentakill
one.
as well.
High kill participation, barely died.
Pentakill followed by an instant surrender.
What else do you want in that? I mean, that was just icing on the cake.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful series to him. And, what a fantastic show. Absolutely wonderful. And thanks, everybody, for watching. That was an amazing experience, an amazing time. And, hey, good casting today, man. I loved it.
Yeah, it's always enjoyable. And thank you guys again for watching. It wouldn't be possible without the viewers. It was a good turnout for Challenger Series. And I hope you guys, like us, are looking forward to seeing some more Challenger action as 2015 gets underway.
All right. Well, that will do it for us, guys. Thank you for watching the ESL Pro Series Season 11. Until next time, we will see you. GG and good night.